call it art. A few months ago, I was looking through a mail art magazine. You know, home alone, enjoying all the crap they sent me. When I come across a Xerox copy of somebody's hard-on. At first, I just about died because I'm straight and all, and I don't go for that kind of kinky stuff. But then I thought, whoa, I could just see some guy going down to the library or post office or somewhere, whipping it out and slamming down the top lid of the copying machine. And Jesus, that would hurt. I mean, if there's some other motive, why couldn't he just go to a tanning bed? I mean, half the human race can do something like that, and yet the guy still calls it art. They call it art. Since I got started in the underground, I can't get enough of it, especially music. Oh, there have been a few does, like the recording of somebody throwing up to a beat. But one day I got this cassette by a pair of so-called artists in Wyoming or some crazy place like that. I'm still excited though. The tape starts playing and everything, and there's nothing. Then some guy starts talking in a very measured, toneless voice, and what he's doing is reciting a computer program. At least it sounds like a computer program. Anyway, this goes on for about 10 minutes. The guy's voice never changing, spewing out numbers and abbreviations and shit like this. Then he says, "Now we have a bird." The title of the piece, sure enough, is "The Bird." I'm saying, "What bird?" When suddenly there's this tremendous blast of static that nearly knocks me out of my seat. And this goes on for the rest of the tape, you know. What gets me is that on the tape cover it says that a live in-concert version of these guys can also be had. I can just imagine a bunch of people actually going to see these guys and dancing to their computer programs and their static. I thought, you know, these guys must know something, because I could also talk into a microphone and be boring. And yet they call it art. They call it art. About the height of my frenzy over mail art, I wrote to this guy in Seattle about his watercolor paintings. It seemed nice and normal at the time. I sent $3 to the man asking for a representative sample of his art, you know. I suppose I could hang it in my room if it looked decent enough. But about 5 days later, I get a manila 6x9 envelope, and when I open it, about a dozen little white squares fall out. I get this momentary horror and confirm it by inspecting each of the squares. Sure enough, these are the watercolors, except that all have a single pale pastel streak on them, as if the guy had dipped each of his fingers into a child's watercolor set, streaked a row of index cards, cut them up, and sent them off to the next sucker who sent $3 goddamn. Only one had something besides the finger streak, and this was one in candy apple red that had the letter F streaked on it. I was thinking of a number of F words to call this guy, needless to say. What really blew my mind is that a few months later, I was in Seattle. I went to a tiny art gallery near the waterfront, and there, on the east wall, were a number of his watercolor streaks. For sale. I thought that there was money to be made here. Invest a few cents in index cards and watercolors, and of course, plenty of soap. Do my business, and call it art.